Josh, and this is my book, Wicard Force, The Twilight Zone. I'm going to read a bit to give you a taste of what's in store. This is Chapter 2, A Fortunate Fortune. Koresh raised her hand to ask a question. Why must we stay here, Miss Hargle? The festivities have already begun, and we must sit in this room until the ticker strikes 3. I didn't make the rules, Koresh. I just implement them, said the teacher. But miss, we all have handed in our assessment work. Can we please go? By the window, a majestic bird parked its feet, while calling and mimicking the plea of the students. This event caused laughter and excitement to escalate. The bird began to dance. The festivities were spilling into the classroom. Colourful explosions in the sky were making it impossible to ignore the celebrations. Miss Hargle went to shoo the creature away, only to become a part of the show herself. The excited noise expelled Miss Hargle's control of the room. Before she could regain composure, all the students had taken advantage of the moment. Drubal had dashed out the door while Koresh followed. On seeing the teacher had not noticed, Gorek and Tantian joined them. Miss Hargle was flustered, but her eye caught Tantian's backside while leaving. Miss Hargle exclaimed outwardly and demanded order. By this stage, the 4 classmates had made their way out of the building. Now they were a good distance down the hill towards the celebrations. Drubal was already knee-deep in grape juice. He laughed to the sounds of crystal bells on the wind. It was the annual celebration. For a number of years, a great world teacher had spoken in various places around Wicard. He mentioned 14 souls who had returned to teach and demonstrate to all earthlings the way to perfect conditions. It was the 7th year of celebrations, and there was a mounting desire amongst many in attendance. It was a desire for better things throughout all places of the earth. There were medicine men and women, magicians, entertainers, and musicians. It was a mixing pot of all sorts of race and creed, and all were there with an underlying intention of improvements. A large variety of genealogies mixed amongst their chosen vocations and methodologies for living. Here in the season, all could come in a friendly spirit and share, or confront one another regarding ideas and practices towards a better way. Most would become quiet whence addressed by those beings of the more ethereal natures. It was obvious that they were superior in their knowledge and practice, but not at first glance, and their advancements were not paraded around for any reason. It was the magicians who took care of such affairs. These brighter beings would only address those humble enough to hear them without retaliation and unkind dispute. And for the most part, they were not seen to be physically any brighter in appearance. They had the ability to tone themselves down energetically to protect the meek creatures of Wicard from their own power. Most had never seen or heard such beings. Only a few would find them while still upon the earth. In these gatherings amongst the festive time, there were often events held within particular homes, some being dwarfish, some were elfin, while others were leprechauna. Wicard is thick and rich with its histories and origins. It is a place of full diversity and creed and culture, a boiling pot of ways of life and a centre for growth and expansion. There are underground cities and even more townships under the sea. Wicard is almost as large as the sea itself. Astronomically, this earth is in the womb of a new age. This time was prophesied through all the recent centuries, and Wicard has been at the helm of the revolutionary transition. But with all revolutions there is conflict, and this is the great challenge for all to face at this time. It was a conflict of great forces, of spiritual darkness with the unseen welling up of a new power amongst beings unbeknown. Every age has its battle in the great war of all time, but this dire age is most certainly one revolution closer to the battle for all battles, and it can only be won by a method not yet fully understood and embraced. This realm of Earth is 81% water, a water world of sorts, but this does not account for the livable land surrounding the planet. There has been great developments over time in that respect. Entire continents constructed by Earthlings, huge floating islands tidally locked to their specific regions of the world. Most of these land masses are organic matter, but many are still in their industrial stages. The majority of these constructions have been built by slaves to wraiths and demons, evil creatures who watch over the earth from beyond the veil. These powerful lords of darkness manipulate and control the minds of men through their many damaged states of consciousness. Most of these beings are worshipped and served by devils that aspire to greater evil. Many thousands of these demonic people must band together to gain enough power to have their effect. These are the puppeteers whose puppet strings are attached to man's injured emotions. There are many layers to the forces that be, and in this region of the world, that force is Wickard Force. So that's chapter 2 of Wickard Force. I might read at the beginning here, there's an introduction, and then I will go through the proviso at the beginning of the book so that you've got a bit more context to some of the content in here. So this is page 9 and the title An Introduction. Drubal was born in a tiny garage made from wood. His mother was a modern peasant while his father was a knight of the triangular tables. This little family was deeply sworn into the secret society of modern elves. They had all come across an application for their personal widgets while scouring the deep, dark, ethereal web. This technology had reconnected them with others of the same ilk. But aren't the elves full of light and merciful cheer? Not always so, for in dark places there lies dark faces. Elves of this establishment were by no means dark people in their intent, but more like chameleons who have learned to shade themselves down in order to preserve some indisturbance for a time. For if they were to shine their light and emanations of colour, wherever they may roam, these elves would draw far too much attention, more than they often would wish for. And unfortunately on this black earth, the attention would be often violent and severe. The elf of this age has peculiar senses and a superseded apparatus of his dense but sometimes ethereal body. His great strength and agility is enhanced by these new sensory inputs, which have lain dormant in ages of old. Gorek, dwarf of the 5th kind, born in Nuremland. He is 27th in the chain of his dynasty. One could regard him as a prince and a king in the making, but Gorek certainly does not see himself this way. He does not care much for the past, only for the present and what experiences might be just around the corner. At this stage in the tale of Wickard Force, Gorek's experience is typically a biology assignment. Tantian. Her origins are of the ocean, a mermaid if you will. Amphibious is her preferred classification, because she does not have flippers as presented in the traditional narratives. She walks, she climbs, but gains a particular strength and wisdom in water. Tantian knows the sea, and her entire tribe have an ability for deep-sea diving that surpasses all creatures of this earth. Tantian is a delicate soul, but with many quirky intricacies in her nature. Koresh is a princess in the lineage of man and womankind. She prefers to keep this ordainment secret, for her particular blood chain spurred from one of the many underground societies of the previous ages. Really, she is elf in origin, but can be easily mistaken for a witch or a vampire. Her ancestral kind turned from the life of day, but not for the same reason as the then-to-be ghouls and vampires. Their reasons were far nobler. Kintara is the world home to Wicard. It is located in the Skari solar system by a cluster of stars on the outer echelon of the Peripheral Galaxy. This region exists in a universe beyond the sight of all the neighbouring universes. This was the age of truth and technology. A new time had been creeping in, and in a plane where fear and darkness were the kings and queens, concern had risen for those in positions of power. It was said by some that on water worlds filth floats to the top, and in this being a water world, those with this view saw much scum and filth in high places. So this is a little creative effort that I done end of last year and start of this year. Took me a couple of months to write. So I'm going to make it available on Amazon, and it's been created with Lulu Books. And what else do I need to say? I hope you enjoy it. It's sort of written in such a way that you could read pieces of it and still find it enjoyable, or I find it enjoyable, but I recommend the whole thing. It's not long, it's only 88 pages. And I'll read another little section here. This is a proviso at the beginning of the book, which is something you probably need to read to have an understanding of some of the themes and the ideas in the book. But I'll read that as well. So this is the proviso, page 5. Although this novel is entirely fiction, it draws from themes found in the teachings of divine truth, the truth as taught by Jesus and Mary. I have made these provisions so, should the occasion arise whereby this tale became a success, in other words, in the event that this work is to be read by readers, I sincerely welcome any person living the way as defined by divine truth to correct any misdirection that my words may cause readers regarding the actual truth. My last want would be to spawn untruth convoluted with the actual truth, hence why this book is a fiction. I would be severely frustrated should the situation arise where I had departed the earth life and this creative effort was left behind me. My concern would be that perhaps I would find no easy way to correct my misinterpretations of the story while unable to return. So these words are to the effect of mitigating such a scenario as to be placed in the spirit world without the means to correct my errors, particularly if this manuscript should prove a nuisance to the greater cause of humanity's progress into more loving conditions. On reading this, you may know that I have made efforts whilst still living to learn the divine truth and practice it as much as I felt willing. My hope is that these words can negate any perpetuation of error upon the earth. I can dream an instance where future generations might claim this book as something factual, and to my horror, they could repeat more tall tales like what can be found in the current holy books. Although this book has been impregnated with an underlying truth, it is up to you, the reader, to discern factual feelings from fictitious ones. I also hope that those with love as their authority can shed light on my errors should that event occur by happenstance, leaving me with only my spirit body to function. I have written this document with a purpose in mind, to awaken the reader, however it may be possible, to things in existence that are open to contemplate, that that you are open to contemplate, recognize, and discover. The greater goal would be to see this novel speak to souls in such a way that they may have a revelation within their emotions. So please discount any theme or attitude that turns out to not be true according to the actual divine truth. The persons that live and know the way are who should be trusted regarding that subject. Again, it is up to you, the reader, to discern who those persons might be, and what themes and attitudes of this story pertain to that assize. So that's quite a bit out of the book. It's 22 chapters, and so this is all new to me, but I hope you enjoy it. Just to correct one thing, that it's actually 24 chapters. I don't know why I said 22, because it's it was kind of the first thing I thought when I conceived of writing the book. I thought, I'm going to write 24 chapters. But also I wanted to do a bit more of an outline of the whole book, so I was going to read the blurb, so you can sort of get an idea of the whole story rather than just hear a section of it. Here we go. This world is stagnant, repulsive towards growth in the very beauty of its origins. Darkness has suffocated the very air in the world's geographical majority. Only a few bubble locations are left with light, like tiny sparks on the surface of the earth. Some landscapes are afforded a kind of twilight, but for the most part, the world is black as night. How did this come to pass? In a universe of such wonders, this was the lowest stage of its evolutionary development. Having sunken to new lows in the devolution from perfect conditions, it has degraded from the former paradise. This is a world where all humanoid genealogies house the human soul. The soul is the pinnacle of all creation. In a multi-universe constructed for the experience of every soul-based life form, this is a place where the human genome is not far removed from the genetics of a pixie or a fairy. Unfortunately, something has gone terribly wrong, and now the once pristine world has been covered in foul stenches and putrid creations. Like a diamond drowned in soot, this earth is on the brink of a total I can never say this word, you know that one? Asphyxiation. Still can't say it properly. Only a few locations of the surface still glimmer with light. The light manifests from humble hearts that dwell therein. Wickard Force is a tale of all things magical, and yet the adventure is beyond what might be first witnessed. There are many layers to its reality, like an onion. Each creature plays its role, but now is the time for absolute truth. This is a pivotal point in the great timeline of the world, where technology melds with magic, forcing powers that be to reconsider what power is behind their power. What makes magic magic? What makes power power? Drubal is a young elfin lad, and it is not long before a world within the world is felt through the development of his subtle senses. Dreams that were forgotten turned out to be fate. Young Koresh is blessed with the knowledge of her other half. The full story grows from early seeds planted, sown by some of the most powerful sorcerers in all existence. Great world teachers now share their seeds of truth. The grand tale tells of an epic battle, while this first installment is the preliminary journey of four friends. It is a look at life within the tribes and families of Wickard. A new era is dawning for all creatures who have made contact with the great Master Carmichael and his other half, Gideon. They have returned to the earth alongside 12 fellow brothers and sisters. Their presence brings a profound effect and threatens the darkness that abounds. New magic flows with knowledge and growth. The greatest master is here to live and teach. He has landed smack bang right at the epicenter of the Wickard Force. So there you go. There's the book. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm just glad that I've finished it, and I've just got the first copy here, so I thought I'd share about it. So yeah, this is just kind of like the test copy. There's still some grammatical errors, but once that's fixed and I've got that the new prints made, yeah, I'll make it public. It's still just private, but I'll announce when I'll do that. Maybe play a song or something. Anyway, thanks.